Okay, let's dive in. Picture this. You go to your favorite online resource, maybe a site you really count on for information, and suddenly
Hmm.
it's just gone, vanished.
Oof. Yeah.
What actually happened there? Well, today we're going deep into exactly that kind of digital emergency.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at a specific incident, a real one, from Sunday, July 13th, 2025. It involved a website, sunshinetribune.org.
Right. Hosted by a company called TVCNet.
Exactly. TVCNet, they specialize in secure WordPress hosting, website security, that sort of thing. And this client site, it got hit hard by a severe distributed denial of service attack, a DDoS attack.
And we know this because TVCNet actually shared the support ticket quite openly on Reddit.
Yeah, which is pretty transparent. So
Yeah.
our mission here is to really unpack what a DDoS attack means, like in practical
Well,
terms.
not just the jargon.
Right. And to get a sense of the incredibly fast response needed from a hosting provider in real time.
And the kind of critical decisions they have to make when, a whole online ecosystem is suddenly at risk.
You're basically going to hear how these complex digital problems get tackled by real people under, frankly, intense pressure.
And what we can maybe learn from how they handled it so quickly.
So let's start there. What exactly is a DDoS attack, and how did it look for this specific site, sunshinetribune.org? TVCNet called them the Sunshine Accountability Project.
Right. So for the Sunshine Accountability Project, their site was just suddenly hammered. A DDoS attack, at its core, it's kind of like flooding a highway.
Okay.
Imagine millions of extra cars, none of them actually going anywhere useful, all trying to use the same off-ramp at once. It just jams everything up.
Blocks legitimate traffic.
Exactly. So sunshinetribune.org got swamped with this flood of fake malicious traffic, completely overwhelmed the server, knocked it offline, and locked out their real readers. It's basically a calculated way to silence someone online.
And with these attacks, speed is everything, right? So what's the absolute first thing the response team does when an alert like that pops up? How do they even know it is a DDoS and not just, I don't know, the site suddenly going viral for real?
Good question. So the support ticket came in around lunchtime that Sunday. First thing they did, pulled up the server logs immediately.
Looking for clues.
Yeah. And they saw this unusually massive wave of connections hitting the server. Specifically, a lot were coming from DigitalOcean IP addresses.
Ah.
And that's often a red flag. Attackers frequently rent servers, compute power, from legitimate cloud providers like DigitalOcean or AWS to launch these attacks.
Just some harder to spot.
Exactly. Their traffic can seem a bit more legit at first glance. It's not like blocking a whole country sometimes works. It's often a sign of a more sophisticated active DDoS attempt.
Okay, so they identify the attack vector, these DigitalOcean IPs. What's next? The immediate countermeasures.
No time wasted. First action,
Yeah.
block the worst offenders. Those specific IP addresses they spotted in the logs, shut them down.
Right.
Then, crucially, they spun up Cloudflare protection. Put it on both of the client's domains.
And Cloudflare's like that digital bouncer we talked about.
Precisely. It sits in front of the website, analyzes incoming traffic, and helps filter out all that malicious stuff before it even hits the actual hosting server.
But reading through this, it sounds like this wasn't just some basic botnet Cloudflare could, easily swat away. The attack got worse.
It definitely did. Yeah.
Yeah.
The attack just kept hammering the site. It pushed the server load way, way up through the roof.
Server load meaning how hard the server's working?
Exactly, how busy it is. And that made it clear this was a sustained assault, not just a quick hit. So they had to flip Cloudflare into what's called under attack mode.
Which sounds serious.
It is. It's Cloudflare's most aggressive setting. It basically throws up more complex challenges. Think invisible cap TCKs, computational puzzles to every single connection trying to reach the site.
To try and weed out the automated bots from actual humans.
Right. It can sometimes slow things down a tiny bit for legitimate users, make them wait a few seconds, but it's often a necessary step to stop a massive sled like this one.
Beyond all the technical stuff, the Cloudflare settings and IP blocks, what really seems to jump out here is the human side of things.
Absolutely.
For anyone listening, maybe running their own site or business, what are the key takeaways about building a resilient team, a response culture? It's more than just having the right software, isn't it?
Oh, completely. It's about having clear protocols, for sure. But just as important is having a team that's empowered to make high-stakes decisions really fast.
Trusting their judgment.
Trusting their judgment, trusting their colleagues. And this is crucial, maintaining constant, transparent communication with the client.
Yeah, the ticket mentioned the TVCNet kept the Sunshine Accountability Project updated constantly.
Step by step. They even shared screen recordings, apparently, so the client could actually see what was happening behind the scenes. That kind of trust and shared understanding, especially when things are, going sideways,
Right.
that's invaluable. It's
Mhm.
often the difference between managing a crisis successfully and, well, catastrophic failure.
So the attack kept coming, even with Cloudflare on high alert. And then TVCNet made a pretty tough call, temporarily suspending the site.
Yeah.
That sounds drastic. Taking a client offline, even for a bit, what are the risks they're weighing up when they make a decision like that?
It is a drastic step, no question.
Yeah.
But sometimes a short pause
Mhm.
is exactly what you need. It basically stops the flood completely for a moment,
Buys time.
buys time, lets the
Yes.
protective measures really take hold, lets the team regroup without constantly fighting the live attack. The competing concerns are always, balancing keeping the service available for legitimate users versus the risk of the entire server becoming unstable or going down.
Affecting potentially hundreds of other clients on the same machine.
Exactly. So it's like a strategic retreat sometimes. You pull back briefly to ultimately win the larger battle and protect the whole environment.
Okay, so they suspend it temporarily, probably fine-tune some things, get Cloudflare fully settled in, and then bring it back online. What happened then? Did the attackers give up?
Nope, not at all. They clearly doubled down. As soon as the site came back online, the server load. Remember how busy the server is?
Yeah, normally around 5, you say.
Right, a normal load might be 5, maybe
Oh.
10. It jumped instantly to an eye-watering 175 within seconds.
Whoa, that's huge.
It's massive. And that showed this wasn't just random background noise anymore. This was a targeted, concerted effort hitting the server directly. A clear sign this wasn't some amateur messing around.
A serious, persistent attacker.
Yeah. And that persistence, especially against something called an accountability project, it tells you something about the landscape. Sometimes disruption itself is the goal for the attackers.
Which leads to the next big decision, migrating the site entirely. This wasn't just about sunshinetribune.org anymore, was it? It was about protecting the whole shared hosting environment.
Precisely. You hit the nail on the head. TVCNet mentioned they had over 500 other businesses, other websites, running on that same shared server.
Wow. Keeping the Sunshine site online under that kind of relentless high-load attack would have put every single one of those other clients at significant risk. Performance issues, maybe even downtime for everyone.
So the solution was move them.
The ultimate decision, was to guide the client through moving their site to a completely separate server, a different machine, with a totally new IP address.
It's like having a fire in one apartment in a large building.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy. You try to contain the fire in that one unit, but you also have to worry about the smoke, the water damage from sprinklers, the risk of it spreading to other apartments.
You have to protect the whole building.
Hosting providers have that huge responsibility. Isolate the threat not just for the client being attacked, but for everyone else relying on their infrastructure. It's a constant balancing act.
And moving them to a new IP, that's a strategic move because it instantly makes the attacker's current target obsolete, right? They're hitting an old address. Correct. It cuts off their known target and contains the issue to a single, now isolated location. And what's really remarkable, when you look at the timeline in the ticket,
Yeah.
all of this, the initial detection, deploying Cloudflare, escalating it, the temporary suspension, and then coordinating and executing the full site migration to a new server.
That sounds like it would take days.
It all happened within about 2 hours that Sunday morning.
2 hours. That's incredibly fast.
That is rapid response in action. Seriously impressive.
And the client, Taylor Quinn, the director of the Sunshine Accountability Project, they were kept informed throughout.
Totally. Quinn thanked TVCNet specifically for the speed and the communication. They even confirmed, that we'd be looking into the source themselves. One of their journalists was apparently going to follow up with DigitalOcean, try and get more leads.
Interesting.
And here's a fascinating part. Even after the site was migrated secure on a new IP, loading perfectly fine, the attackers didn't stop immediately.
Still hitting the old target. For the new one.
Well, the defenses held. But the ticket notes that after the successful migration and protection was fully in place, the attack volume actually increased from around 400,000 connections to millions.
Wow. But it wasn't having any effect.
No effect. The new setup with Cloudflare properly configured just absorbed it. The website itself has been loading without issues since that Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
But they're still seeing attack traffic directed at it.
That persistence is something else. What does that tell us about, the nature of these threats? And did they ever figure out where exactly all this attack traffic was coming from beyond just DigitalOcean?
They identified quite a few source IPs. Some were DigitalOcean, yes,
Right.
but also networks like Indonesia Comnets Plus, JSC, KMV, Telecom Network in Russia, Work Titans, BV. It was pretty diverse.
So global, distributed.
Definitely. It underscores the distributed nature of these attacks. Not a single source, but a coordinated campaign using multiple points of origin across the globe. It really highlights what TVCNet said in their post.
What was that?
That their philosophy is that small organizations, like maybe an accountability project or a local newspaper, they shouldn't have to fend off huge, sophisticated cyber attacks all by themselves.
Right. They need partners.
Yeah. When the attackers get clever, the hosting providers, the security partners, they have to get even more creative. Quick blocking, real-time updates, practical steps like moving a server. It's all about protecting the client's site, their ability to operate, their reputation, no matter how relentless the attack is.
So, wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you listening? Well, we've seen just how fast a sophisticated cyber attack can unfold
Really fast.
and the kind of rapid, multi-layered response it demands. We're talking IP blocking, deploying Cloudflare, escalating protection, even making tough calls like temporary suspensions.
And full site migrations.
Right, all within hours.
Right.
But also that human element. TVCNet's quick communication, their decisive action, being transparent with the client, that seems just as critical as any piece of technology when you're under that kind of pressure.
Absolutely. And this whole deep dive into just one incident, this DDoS attack against an organization like the Sunshine Accountability Project, it does raise a bigger question, doesn't it?
Which is?
Well, in a world where access to information, potentially vital information, can be choked off by malicious actors, how does this ongoing threat of cyber attacks actually shape our trust? Our trust in online sources, and maybe even the resilience of, digital free expression itself. Something to think about.